Hello, welcome back to the episode. This is the StackStorm Technical Deep Dive. I'm Rick Hoffman, Global TME over here at HP Aruba Networking. Now, in this episode, we're going to kind of look at how a rule kicks off and how it invokes in a workflow and how we trace down through that workflow. So we're going to get a better understanding for the overall process of when workflows come alive and what happens after that. So let's dive into it and take a look at how that happens.
Real quick, I want to just show you. I showed you this earlier. I keep my schema docs near for all my people, for APIs I deal with. And if I have any little special test scripts I want to try out, these are the scripts that eventually become my actions. So I just run them against something from a Python script and just to make sure I can figure out what's going on where. So I just store all that stuff in my little Etsy directory. But under rules, the rules bring the event-based part of StackStorm alive, right? We can have sensors that trigger stuff. And then based on those triggers, we can wake up a rule and the rule can go off and run an action. And I showed you before in the GUI, we can turn them on or off. This is where I set the enabled part. And I'll set mine to false. Because if you have these as true and you go ahead and you do a SE2 pack install, they will start doing their thing. So whatever their thing is, they will just do it. And maybe you're not ready for that. Maybe you don't want that to happen. So just kind of as precaution, I leave this to false, and then when I get it imported, I'll go into the web GUI and turn it on. Up to you, your call, but I kind of leave mine set to false. Just a personal preference. But we can see in this rule that we have a name, it's in the rules directory, and we have a trigger assigned to this rule. And this is the core interval timer. This is part of the core pack for StackStorm. It's just an interval timer, and I can set the parameter to be any number of minutes here. So right now I have it set to 5, I can set it to 1, I can set it to 500, it doesn't matter. But my unit of measure is minutes. So every 5 minutes, this trigger is going to be true. And when this becomes true, this rule runs. And this rule says every 5 minutes, I'm going to run an action. And that action is called swappy people to snow. So that's how we set up our rules. Now, this could be based on a tweet. So I could use the Twitter sensor and look for my screen name. And then if I find my screen name, I can pull in the Twitter body. And maybe in the Twitter body, I have some word that I'm matching with the sensor. And it has a Twitter match. And it says, oh, you got a Twitter match. Boom. And then that rule becomes active and does the action. So these triggers can be all kinds of things, is what I'm trying to say. But I'm just using the core interval timer. So this is like setting up a cron job that runs every 5 minutes. But this is just an easy way to do it. So in StackStorm, every 5 minutes, go run this action. Now, if I look, where do I find actions? In the actions folder. So I go in the actions folder and I say, do I have an action called people to snow? I sure do. People to snow. And we've seen this before. This is the action that has the runner type of Orchestra. And it says your entry point is in the workflows directory called people to snow. And up here in the workflows directory, people to snow. And we find our workflow. Now, I've already been through this before, right? But this is just a list of tasks. And if you go to the Exchange and you have 180 packs, you can literally plug those packs into your StackStorm server and just write these workflows. Go to info blocks, get a new block of IP addresses, publish those IP addresses to the context. Slurp them up with something else and put them in virtual machines. I don't care. This is the power of being able to use every single action from every single pack on the exchange, and there's a lot of them, and be able to tie that into your own pack. So we're writing a silly little pack here that goes out and gets Star Wars information off of an API on the internet, and it sends it to a ServiceNow table. And how much of the code did we have to write? None. We didn't even have to write this workflow. So you can go out and get stuff like this and use it as a base to build your pack and have it do things you want it to do. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about this later on. But that's basically how we set up rules. So a rule says 5 minutes, go run an action. We look in the actions folder, we find that rule, that action rather, and it says go to workflows, people, and run a workflow. That's as hard as it gets. And that's not that hard. So this is the true power of StackStorm, to be able to leverage actions from all these different packs. Okay, so hopefully the light bulb's coming on. This is making more sense to you. We're going to jump into running some actions, digging into Mongo, signing up for ServiceNow, and watching this thing run. So stay tuned, and we'll catch you in the next chapter.